Have you ever felt caught in a continuous loop of irritation? You complain about traffic, your boss, the news, even the weather. It often feels like we spend our lives merely reacting to events, like leaves tossed by the winds of circumstance. Imagine looking back years from now and realizing you wasted a significant portion of your time and energy grumbling about things you couldn't change instead of actively building the life you truly desire. This feeling of helplessness, this quiet resignation, is a trap many of us fall into without even noticing. But what if I told you it's possible to break free from this cycle and seize your personal power? And that the key was discovered thousands of years ago. The ancient Stoics, those philosophers who defied empires, exiles, and immense hardships, understood a fundamental truth. Genuine strength lies not in controlling the external world, which is impossible, but in mastering our inner selves. They didn't lament their misfortunes. Instead, they focused their energy on controlling their judgments, desires, and actions. In this video, we'll uncover that practical wisdom for you. We'll demonstrate how the Stoic path teaches you to stop squandering your vital energy on pointless complaints and redirect it toward the only thing you can control, yourself. Prepare to learn how to strengthen your mind, make conscious choices about your life, and liberate yourself from helplessness, discovering the true power within. This isn't just theory. These are practical tools that, if you dare to apply them, can transform everything. To achieve this transformation, to truly move from complaining to control and experience this Stoic strength, it's crucial that you watch this entire video. Every point we cover, every principle we reveal builds upon the last, guiding you step by step toward a stronger mind and a purposeful life. If you stay until the end, you'll not only grasp the why, but also the practical how to stop complaining and start taking charge today. If this content resonates with you, and you wish to continue exploring unfiltered paths of personal growth, please like this video and subscribe to the channel by clicking the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming lessons. Your journey toward a life of greater control and power begins now. Disregard external validation. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek approval. The fear of being judged shapes every decision we make, from the clothes we choose to the opinions we dare to express. The truth is, by attempting to please everyone, we drift further from our authentic selves. The Stoics recognized this pattern as an invisible prison, a vicious cycle of fear and self-sabotage that can only be broken by deciding to sever the chains. They understood that the only opinion that genuinely matters is your own, because you alone live with the consequences of a life that isn't true to you. Stoic philosophy instructs us to focus solely on what we can control, and the thoughts of others definitely do not fall into that category. You can be exemplary, act with integrity, strive for justice, and still be criticized by some and praised by others. No matter what you do, judgments will always exist, and trying to control them is a waste of valuable energy. The secret lies in redirecting that energy toward what you can change, your own thoughts, attitudes, and decisions. When you grasp this, you experience a profound and rare sense of liberation, a fundamental step toward taking charge of your own life. Stoicism goes beyond simply ignoring superficial criticism. It proposes a deep inquiry. Why does it matter so much to you? The fear of judgment often stems from insecurity about who you are and what you value. Prominent Stoics like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius emphasize the necessity of self-awareness. Knowing what is important to you and what values guide your decisions is the most potent shield against societal pressure. When your choices originate from within, external opinions lose their power because you understand what you are doing and why, thereby exerting strong internal control. Stoic practice also recommends a mental exercise. Visualize the worst-case scenario. Imagine being criticized, rejected, or ridiculed. Then ask yourself, would that fundamentally alter who you are? Most people are so preoccupied with their own issues that they rarely recall our missteps, and even if they do, the impact is minimal. At the end of the day, you are the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices, not those who judge from afar. This exercise strengthens the courage to act according to your principles, even if it risks criticism, giving you control over your own self-approval. Another crucial point is to understand that seeking universal acceptance is not only impossible, but futile. Even admired historical figures were not exempt from criticism. What distinguishes individuals who live authentic lives is their willingness to be true to themselves, even if it means disappointing expectations. External approval is volatile, shifting with the wind. Self-respect, however, is built through firm decisions aligned with your values. True liberation ultimately arrives when you stop asking, "What will others think of me?" and begin asking, "Do I respect myself by making this decision?" The goal is not to be accepted by everyone, but to accept yourself. Only then do you achieve Stoic ataraxia, that unshakable peace that doesn't depend on applause or criticism, but on a daily commitment to your own truth, demonstrating absolute control over your inner worth. Master your emotional responses. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded by situations and people that test our patience. An unpleasant comment, chaotic traffic, an unfair critique. Everything seems to have the power to irritate us. What few realize is that by allowing ourselves to be irritated, we surrender control of our minds to others. The Stoics understood this clearly. If something external vexes you, you are permitting your inner peace to be disturbed. It's not the world that irritates you, it's your reaction to it. And that reaction, however difficult it may seem, is within your grasp. The essence of Stoicism is to distinguish what we can control from what we cannot. The words and actions of others are entirely beyond our control, but how we react to them depends exclusively on us. When someone tries to provoke you, they expect you to react, to respond in kind, to lose your composure. But by doing so, you become predictable, easily manipulated, and ultimately a pawn in others' emotional games. True strength lies in not reacting, in maintaining your calm, and demonstrating that no one has access to your center of balance without your permission. The Stoics did not advocate for suppressing emotions, but for mastering them. Feeling anger, rage, or frustration is natural. It's what they called the first impulse, the body's automatic reaction. The problem arises when you feed that impulse, let it grow, and allow it to control your actions. This is where rational judgment comes in. You can choose to break the cycle, breathe deeply, and assess whether it's truly worth expending your energy on it. Most of the time, the answer is no. You realize you are about to surrender your peace for something trivial and decide to proceed undisturbed, exercising your control over emotional escalation. For the Stoics, anger was a form of weakness, a sign that you had not yet mastered yourself. They believed that true strength lay in responding with kindness or simply with indifference. Imagine someone who wants to insult you and expects your outburst. If instead you smile or ignore them, that person loses all power over you. It's like trying to start a fire without kindling. It extinguishes itself. This attitude is not passivity, it's strategy. You are conserving your energy for what truly matters and protecting yourself from being manipulated by others' transient emotions, maintaining control. Another Stoic lesson is to imagine an invisible shield around you. When someone tries to strike you with criticism, provocations, or insults, visualize those words bouncing off the shield and falling to the ground without touching you. This visualization helps you build a mental barrier and reaffirm that nothing external can affect you without your consent. When you feel irritation rising, practice conscious breathing. Inhale slowly, exhale slowly, relax your body. This simple action interrupts the emotional escalation and returns control to you. Ultimately, what irritates you only controls you if you allow it. Stoicism teaches that true freedom lies in deciding where to direct your energy, what deserves attention, and what should be ignored. It's not about being cold or indifferent to the world, but about being selective and not being swept away by every provocation. When you learn to be the master of your reactions, nothing and no one can disturb your calm. And then you discover the power of being unshakable, of living lightly, without carrying the burden of others' emotions, because you control your internal response. Cease complaining. Complaining has become an invisible addiction, a habit that infiltrates our daily lives almost unnoticed. It's as if, when faced with any difficulty, the first automatic reaction is to point fingers, to display our indignation to the world. The traffic is bad, the boss is unbearable, the weather isn't cooperating, money is never enough. But stop and think. Has any of these complaints changed anything in your life? The Stoics knew complaining solves nothing. On the contrary, it only reinforces a sense of powerlessness, solidifies a victim mentality, and drains the energy you could use to act. Stopping complaints is the first step to regaining control. Stoic philosophy teaches that in every situation, there are only two options: act or accept. If something can be changed, you act and change it. If not, you accept it and move on. Complaining is neither of these options because it changes nothing nor brings peace. The problem is that complaining is so pervasive that we don't even realize when we're caught in this cycle. It requires a shift in consciousness to notice how much our mind has become addicted to focusing on the negative, to always seeking what's missing, what's wrong, what could be different. Great Stoic masters like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius warned that complaining wastes our most precious possession, the present. When you find yourself complaining, you're trapped in the past or in something you cannot control. Meanwhile, real life passes by, slipping through your fingers. A true Stoic doesn't waste time on what's beyond their reach. They focus on what they can do now, with the resources they have, and transform their dissatisfaction into action. If you're tired, go to bed early. If you don't like your job, find ways to improve it or seek another. If the atmosphere is tense, distance yourself from negative people or change the subject. Stoic practice goes beyond simply avoiding complaints. It proposes a daily exercise in gratitude. Instead of looking at what you lack, look at what you have already achieved. When you feel the urge to complain, ask yourself, what is working well in my life right now? What do I have that others would wish for? This mental training is powerful because it shifts the focus from scarcity to abundance. Over time, you'll discover that your life is much better than it seemed when you only saw problems. Stoicism even uses negative visualization. Imagine what it would be like to lose what you have today, and gratitude emerges almost automatically. Another important point is to observe your environment. If you surround yourself with people who only complain, you will inevitably adopt that behavior. Stoics chose their company carefully, and if they couldn't avoid certain environments, they redirected the conversation. If someone starts complaining, propose a solution or change the subject. People who only want to complain will withdraw, and you will have freed yourself from that destructive energy. This is not selfishness, it's self-protection. Your energy is too valuable to waste on complaints that lead nowhere, and by ceasing to complain, you begin to control it. Breaking the cycle of complaint is ultimately an act of courage and responsibility. It means stepping out of the victim role and taking ownership of your own life. The Stoics did not deny difficulties, but they chose to face them with serenity and action. One who stops complaining begins to see opportunities where before there were only obstacles. And above all, they regain control of their mind, their emotions, and their destiny. A true Stoic does not complain, they act, accept, and are grateful, manifesting their power through internal control. Embrace radical self-honesty. Being brutally honest with yourself is perhaps the most challenging and transformative step Stoicism demands. We live in a society that encourages excuses, blaming others, and the illusion that we are victims of circumstances. It's easy to point fingers at the boss, the government, family, or bad luck. What's truly difficult is to look in the mirror and admit, if my life isn't where I want it to be, I am the only one responsible. The Stoics never believed in excuses. For them, the truth, however harsh, was the only path to freedom and genuine growth. Accepting that responsibility is the first step to taking control. Radical honesty begins by ceasing to lie to yourself, by looking at reality unfiltered. It means admitting where you have failed, where you have settled, where you have remained inactive. It's not about self-blame or self-flagellation, but about taking ownership. If you say, "I don't have time," Stoicism forces you to rephrase, "I haven't prioritized this." If you think, "I can't change," Stoic philosophy challenges you to say, "I haven't tried all possible alternatives yet." This shift in language pulls you out of victimhood and transforms you into the protagonist of your own story. The Stoics knew that truth hurts, but it also liberates. Pretending that everything is fine, making excuses not to act, only prolongs suffering and stagnation. Conversely, when you confront your own limits and mistakes, you open the door to change. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, all of them endured losses, exiles, and setbacks, yet they never ceased to assume responsibility for their reactions and decisions. They taught that it doesn't matter what happens to you, but how you react to it. And reacting with honesty is the first step to genuine change and the exercise of control. Being brutally honest doesn't mean ridiculing or self-destructing. It means accepting your imperfections, admitting your weaknesses, and recognizing your deepest desires. In today's world, where everyone pretends to be perfect on social media, it takes courage to be honest with oneself. It means stopping building facades to please others and starting to live what truly matters to you. Radical honesty is not just towards others, it is, above all, towards yourself, towards what you feel, what you want, and what you are willing to do to change. From there, Stoicism demands action. It's not enough to recognize the truth, you have to do something about it. Take a piece of paper and write down 3 uncomfortable truths about your life that you don't want to face. Perhaps it's a lack of discipline, fear of failure, chronic procrastination, or dependence on external approval. Choose one and act today, not tomorrow. Stoicism teaches us that life is too short to waste on lies we tell ourselves. Every day that passes inactively is a lost day that will never return. Ultimately, brutal honesty with oneself is what differentiates those who progress from those who stagnate. It is the difference between a life full of regrets and a life of pride and fulfillment. The Stoics said, "If you want something good, seek it within yourself. Don't expect the world to give you what only you can achieve." The truth may be uncomfortable, but it frees you to build a life of purpose, with clarity and real power over your own destiny, because you control your self-perception and your actions. Embrace setbacks as learning opportunities. The fear of failure is an invisible chain that keeps millions of people trapped in their comfort zones. While society teaches us to avoid mistakes at all costs, Stoicism proposes a radical path, embracing failure as a teacher. The Stoics understood that stumbling is not a sign of weakness, but evidence that you are moving towards what truly matters. Overcoming this fear is crucial for taking control of your own growth. Stoic philosophy begins with an uncomfortable question. What if every mistake was seen as a laboratory for self-knowledge? Marcus Aurelius viewed obstacles as opportunities in disguise. What appears to impede the way is the way. When a project fails, a relationship ends, or a goal eludes you, Stoics see it as raw material to build something more solid. The error ceases to be the end and becomes the beginning. The key lies in controlling the internal narrative. Epictetus taught that it is not events that harm us, but the meaning we give them. Changing "I failed" to "I found a way that doesn't work" completely alters the mental game. This reformulation strips the error of its moral burden and transforms it into an objective fact. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and become a scientist experimenting with hypotheses in real life, exercising control over your interpretation. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, the conscious visualization of the worst possible scenario. If you're afraid of failing a presentation, imagine yourself stammering, forgetting the text, being booed. Ask yourself, would that kill you? Would it incapacitate you? In most cases, the biggest failure is just an uncomfortable moment. This exercise is not defeatism, it's an emotional vaccine. By looking the monster in the face, it shrinks and you gain control over your fear. Action is the Stoic antidote to paralysis by fear. Seneca warned, "While we hesitate, life passes." Every minute you spend on "what if" is time stolen from the only place where change can occur, the present. Start with small steps. Send the incomplete email, publish the draft, show the project halfway done. Stoicism doesn't demand heroic leaps, but consistent steps. Each step is data collection, not failure, to adjust your course and take control of your progress. The real danger, according to Stoic masters, lies not in failure but in the illusion of control. When you accept that 90% of the outcome is beyond your control, you concentrate your energy on the 10% that does matter: your preparation, your effort, and your attitude towards the unexpected. Accumulating mistakes is no longer a shame, but a badge of courage. Each one demonstrates that you dared to step out of line and play the game. In the Stoic universe, inaction is the only real failure. He who has never fallen has never learned to rise. He who has never made a mistake has never known his limits. The fear of failure is like a fogged mirror. It reflects monsters that only exist in the imagination. Clean it with consistent action, rational reinterpretation, and the certainty that even in defeats you are writing an emotional survival guide that no one can steal from you, maintaining control over your learning. Harness the power of deliberate silence. In the Stoic understanding, silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of control. In a world where everyone competes to be heard, silence becomes a revolutionary act. The Stoics understood that every wasted word is energy deducted from what truly matters: conscious action. While most seek validation through speech, the wise Stoic gains authority through strategic silence, demonstrating control over their communication. Stoic philosophy teaches us that mastering the tongue is mastering the mind. When someone provokes you, the immediate reaction is an animal reflex, while a 3-second pause before responding is the mark of rational humanity. Epictetus compared impulsive speech to a rudderless ship at the mercy of the wind. Silence in this context is the anchor that prevents emotional shipwreck. It's not about winning debates, but about avoiding unnecessary battles and controlling the direction of the conversation. The true power of silence lies in its mirroring effect. One who remains silent in the face of criticism or provocation forces the other to confront the echo of their own insecurity. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Useless words reveal more about the speaker than to whom they are addressed." Observe, for example, in work meetings, how those who speak too much exhaust themselves, while those who listen actively and intervene only at the right moment become points of reference, exercising control over their impact. The Stoics practiced silence as an exercise in intellectual humility. Before offering an opinion, they would ask themselves, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it useful? This mental pre-selection avoided unnecessary conflicts and reserved energy for substantive discussions. In social media, in everyday conversations, in raising children, silence is as important as speech. The Stoic pause separates noise from the essential, ego from reason, and strengthens your internal control. Contrary to popular belief, Stoic silence is not passivity, but active vigilance. It's like observing a fire without adding fuel. By not feeding meaningless discussions, you cut off the oxygen to others' negativity. Seneca warned, "Words are like knives. The less they are used, the sharper they become. Save them for moments when they can truly build something, never to destroy." Integrating silence into daily life requires daily training. Start by identifying situations where you speak out of habit, not necessity. Replace long explanations with concrete actions. If someone questions your decisions, show results instead of arguments. In moments of tension, breathe deeply and count mentally to 10. This brief pause breaks the cycle of reactivity and returns control to you. Over time, silence ceases to be a tactic and becomes your identity. You are not someone who speaks little, but someone who does a lot, exercising profound control over your energy and your presence. Define your boundaries. Stoic empathy is not weakness. It is calculated strength. The Stoics knew that sympathizing with another's pain does not mean losing yourself in it or erasing yourself. Imagine a doctor who feels empathy for their patient without contracting their illness. That is the essence of wise empathy. You can enter another's mind, as Marcus Aurelius taught, without that connection derailing you. Being empathetic means recognizing shared humanity without assuming responsibility for decisions that are not yours. Preserving your limits is exercising control over your well-being. The line between empathy and submission is crossed when values are exchanged for approval. The Stoics practice justice as the supreme virtue, and that includes treating others with dignity and demanding the same for oneself. One who always yields, always listens, always forgives without receiving anything in return violates the Stoic principle of justice. True kindness requires discernment, helping those who deserve it, guiding those who want to grow, distancing oneself from those who only consume energy. This is not cruelty. It is the preservation of virtue and the exercise of control over your relationships. Learning to say no is a daily exercise in Stoic self-control. When someone oversteps your boundaries, a firm response is not a lack of empathy, but self-respect. The Stoics compared the mind to a fortress. Constant attacks weaken it. Practice strategic pauses. Before agreeing to a request, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my best self or further away? If the answer is further away, silence or refusal is an act of courage, not selfishness, and means taking control of your time and energy. Stoic justice demands that you be as generous with yourself as you are with others. Epictetus exhorted, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost it,' but 'I have returned it.'" Apply this to your relationships. If someone does not value your time, your energy, or your effort, do not waste it, return it. Observing who withdraws when you stop giving without receiving is a natural filter to identify emotional parasites and maintain control over your emotional resources. Balance lies in action, not intention. Being empathetic without being submissive requires concrete gestures. Set times for helping, avoid excessive explanations when refusing, replace guilt with clarity. Like a Stoic general, protect your resources, time, energy, attention, as valuable soldiers. Do not send them to battles that are not yours. Unconditional charity is only virtuous if it does not destroy your own well-being. Stoic empathy culminates in self-care as a philosophical act. Seneca said, "No one can live happily if he cares only for himself, but to live for others without living for oneself is the path to unhappiness. Care for others as you care for a garden, water where there is life, and prune where there is decay." Being a bridge for others' growth does not imply being a highway for abuse. Genuine human relationships, according to the Stoics, flourish where there is mutual respect, not unilateral exploitation, thus maintaining control over the quality of your connections. Compete only with yourself. We live in a world obsessed with rankings, likes, and external metrics. From childhood, we are conditioned to compare ourselves, grades, salary, achievements, and even physical appearance. But the Stoics discovered centuries ago that this race against others is a trap for inner peace. While society celebrates those who surpass their rivals, Stoicism proposes a silent revolution. The only valid competition is against the person you were yesterday. Focusing on that is taking control of your own definition of success. Comparing yourself to others is a game with no winners. Each person has a unique story, genetics, opportunities, traumas, and backgrounds that make any comparison useless. The Stoics compared this to a runner who, instead of focusing on the track, looks sideways. They lose their rhythm, trip over themselves, and expend energy they could use to break their own records. The true metric of progress is not surpassing someone else, but surpassing yourself every day. Stoicism teaches that constant comparison generates envy and resentment. When you see someone with more success, wealth, or fame, the natural impulse is to feel that you lack something. The Stoics combated this mental poison by practicing appreciation for what they had and focusing on their own path. Life is not a sprint against others, but a personal marathon of continuous improvement. Your true rival is not outside, it is inside. It is your procrastination, your fear, your lack of discipline. Overcoming them is the only victory that matters. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, had all possible external power. Yet his writings reveal his constant struggle to control himself, not others. He knew that true wealth was not the gold of the empire, but the strength of his character. When you focus on being a little better today than yesterday, more patient, more disciplined, more just, wiser, you are building an internal fortune that no one can take from you. This silent accumulation of virtue is true Stoic success, and it is completely under your control. The trap of external comparison is that it ties you to a shifting and arbitrary standard. There will always be someone better at something, and if your happiness depends on surpassing them, you will be in an eternal and unsatisfying quest. Stoicism frees you from this madness by redefining success. Success is not having more than your neighbor. It is maximizing your own potential, living in accordance with your values, mastering your inner world. This is a game you can always win, because the only measure is yourself, exercising control over your personal growth. Practice focusing on your own daily progress. Keep a Stoic journal and record your small victories, a controlled impulse, a task completed despite laziness, criticism received calmly. Celebrate these small steps because they are evidence of your progress in the only battle that matters. Stop blindly following societal standards of success and create your own, based on your values and your potential. True freedom comes when you stop comparing yourself and simply begin to be concentrating your energy on improving the only thing you can control, yourself, manifesting your power by defining your own success. Embrace discomfort. In a world that values instant gratification and the relentless pursuit of happiness, discomfort is seen as something to be avoided at all costs. But the Stoics, with their practical wisdom, embraced discomfort as an essential tool for growth and resilience. They understood that avoiding malaise makes us weak and dependent, while facing it strengthens us and gives us control over our reactions. Stepping out of your comfort zone is not a luxury, it is a necessity for developing Stoic strength. Stoic philosophy teaches us that discomfort is temporary, but the weakness that results from avoiding it can be permanent. Think of physical exercise. It's uncomfortable at first, but it makes you stronger in the long run. The same applies to mental and emotional challenges. Avoiding difficult conversations, postponing important tasks, or giving in to every pleasurable impulse gives you momentary relief, but it erodes your discipline and your ability to face future adversities. The Stoics saw discomfort as an opportunity to practice their virtues: patience, courage, self-discipline. Epictetus, who was enslaved, experienced extreme discomforts, yet taught that his mind was impregnable. He could not control his physical situation, but he could control how he reacted to it. For him, every difficulty was a test, an opportunity to strengthen his character. This approach transforms discomfort from a threat into an opportunity. A traffic jam becomes an opportunity to practice patience. Unfair criticism is an opportunity to practice calm and rational judgment. Every uncomfortable moment is a mini quest to strengthen yourself and gain control over your responses. The Stoics practiced voluntary exercises of discomfort to prepare for the inevitable adversities of life. Seneca, despite his wealth, sometimes lived with simple food and old clothes to remember that happiness did not depend on external luxuries. This type of practice desensitizes you to discomfort and shows you that you are stronger than you think. You don't have to live like an ascetic, but seeking small voluntary discomforts, a cold shower, fasting a meal, walking instead of driving, helps you build resilience and realize that you can function perfectly well without all the comforts you're used to. Furthermore, facing discomfort helps you distinguish between real pain and self-imposed suffering. Often, the fear of discomfort is worse than the discomfort itself. The anxiety before a difficult task is more exhausting than the task itself. Stoicism encourages you to break through that initial barrier of resistance and discover that you are capable of handling much more than your mind tells you. Every time you face discomfort and act despite it, you reinforce belief in your own ability and gain control over your fears. In summary, discomfort is the gym of the mind and character. It is where you forge your resilience and self-discipline. Do not avoid it. Seek it in small, controlled doses. Every time you choose discipline over laziness, courage over fear, patience over frustration in an uncomfortable moment, you are exercising your power and taking control of your own development. Remember the words of Epictetus: "Difficulty is what shows what men are made of." Embrace discomfort and discover what you are made of, exercising control over your inner strength. Act with purpose. Stoicism is not a philosophy of inaction or passivity. It is a philosophy of intentional action directed toward what truly matters. The Stoics understood that true happiness and progress do not come from waiting for the world to change, but from acting in accordance with your values, regardless of external circumstances. Action, for a Stoic, is the physical manifestation of internal control, the way to sculpt your destiny with the tools you possess, your own choices. The key is to focus your energy where you have influence. Most people spend their time and energy worrying about things they cannot control: the economy, others' opinions, the past. Stoics, on the other hand, concentrate on their circle of influence, their thoughts, their actions, their judgments. When you direct your energy towards what you can control, you become incredibly effective. You don't waste time lamenting or complaining, you act. If you don't like your job, you look for a new one or improve your skills. If you want to learn something, you study. If you want to be a better person, you practice virtue. Stoic action is not impulsive, it is deliberate. Before acting, a Stoic asks, "Is this aligned with my values? Is this the right thing for me to do?" They do not act on a whim or emotion, but out of reason and purpose. This deliberation gives them immense control over the direction of their lives. They are not swept away by circumstances. They choose their path step by step based on their inner compass. Marcus Aurelius, despite the enormous responsibilities of the empire, reminded himself of the importance of daily action. He wrote in his meditations about getting up and fulfilling his duties, not for fame or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. This focus on virtuous action, without attachment to external results, is fundamental to Stoicism. You do the best you can according to your principles and let go of the outcome, because that is beyond your control. This is a powerful way to maintain your peace of mind while acting with determination. Procrastination, for the Stoics, was a form of self-sabotage, a denial of your ability to act and control your present. Seneca warned about the danger of postponing life, of waiting for the right moment that never comes. The time to act is always now. Even if you can only take a small step, that step is an affirmation of your control over inertia. Don't wait to feel motivated. Motivation often comes after action. Start doing something, however small, and the energy will follow. Finally, Stoic action is the antidote to despair and helplessness. When you feel overwhelmed by the world's problems, action, even a small action within your circle of influence, restores your sense of agency. Planting a tree, helping a neighbor, learning a new skill, every deliberate act reminds you that you have the power to impact your environment and your own life. You cannot control everything that happens, but you can always control what you do about it. And that is the deepest way to exercise your control and sculpt a life of meaning. The path to inner strength. Stoicism doesn't promise a problem-free life, but it does promise a life where you're capable of facing challenges with strength and serenity, because you've taken command of your inner world. Stopping complaints frees up energy. Ceasing to seek external approval reclaims your autonomy. No longer being irritated by others protects your peace. Stopping blame means embracing your power. Embracing setbacks is learning. Practicing silence gains authority. Setting boundaries is self-respect. Competing only with yourself is growth. Embracing discomfort strengthens you. And above all, acting with intention builds your destiny. This path isn't easy. It demands constant practice and brutal self-awareness. There will be days when you stumble, revert to complaining, get irritated, or seek external approval. The key isn't to be perfect, but to be persistent. Every mistake is an opportunity to recall Stoic lessons and return to the path. The reward is immense, a life lived with purpose, resilience, and the profound satisfaction of knowing you are the architect of your own character and destiny. The power you seek isn't outside, in controlling others or changing the world to your whim. True power resides within you, in the capacity to control your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. The Stoics showed you the way thousands of years ago. Now it's up to you to walk it. Stop complaining, start controlling. The Stoic path to a life of power and meaning awaits you. Begin today.